Hello, Warriors. How's everyone doing today? Saloom, are we going to have a panic sell? We're in the middle of one. I don't think this is going to be the big one, but been talking about 39.50 for a while. Let's see. Hi, Sinatra, Brand, Kman, Andrew Heath, welcome. Gorkum, welcome. So,
Morning, Coach.
hey, how are you, Blake? Before we get started with the currencies, and there's plenty to talk to, I just want to go back to this, which is Amazon,
Yeah,
because,
which is reporting after the close.
okay, this day when I was selling Amazon because of the three drive, 1, 2, 3, I remember someone asking me why, what was the fundamental reason, and Blake, you gave me the reason. They raised prices, but that's pretty ugly, taking out 124. I think that we have lower numbers to go on that. And I
You
mean,
know the scary thing about Amazon is, everybody thinks that Amazon is a US based company, which they are. I mean, but Amazon has services everywhere now. It's the Prime is and it's in the UK. I believe it's even in Athens, Greece, to a certain extent. So
okay,
and when it's in Athens, then it's everywhere pretty much. I'm joking about that, but they have Amazon services in a lot of big areas now
yeah,
around the globe, and so I think it's a really good gauge of the global consumer, not just the US consumer. You know what I mean?
here, yeah. And here's AI. When I talked about a right shoulder, they're calling Nvidia about $8 lower, so we could end up closing under the neckline today. And the only thing I can think of that might save it is if we get a turn. So let's get a turn in currencies. So let's start with the yen. And to me, I looked at the candle and it looked like there was some kind of intervention. Good
No.
morning, K-Man. No?
Hi, good morning,
Hey
everybody.
man, was there intervention?
Oh, no, no, there wasn't. I mean, at the
Just
time we were trading the
another fat finger?
at the time we were trading the highs in the dollar yen, there was these Bank of America strategies coming out with an article saying that they were going to raise the YCC band and put the upper target at 1.5% instead of 1.5 instead of 1% now. And there were some really smart cookies who thought that would be funny to take the stops out of the way under 150, but we bounced straight away. So
Yeah.
uh, no, there was no intervention. No.
So
Okay.
it was just a news article. People got a little excited, and
Not
took
even
advantage
news.
of some stops, and we got to move. But no rate checking like we saw in October.
We don't
No
we
no
don't think
intervention.
Okay. So probably test those levels again. Let's move to Aussie. Still hasn't gotten down to where I want to buy it at 220. Uh, how do you how are you trading euro here? Are we just going to wash
Well, we
yeah.
have the
under?
ECB
Yeah.
in 12 minutes.
Hmm.
Okay.
So
Yeah,
So
it's
so
what are you looking for
I'm
from
looking
them?
for keeping the rates still. Basically, it should, in theory, be a dull meeting unless they start to talk about the asset programs. Some of the hawks are asking to talk about it in advance instead of in December or so and putting a plan together. Some are asking for it to talk about it already now, but. That could be the only thing that really moves the market on the ECB, I think. For the rest, it should be Lagarde fighting against inflation, but acknowledging that growth is not there. So, which in theory shouldn't be a huge market mover. And looking at what the options market is pricing, even including the US GDP, they are not expecting a huge range today. So,
and K-Man, I mean, you think about, like, okay, if they start fiddling with like their PEP program, which is as you just pointed out, it's not expected. until like sometime in 2024. But there's been talk of accelerating the, QT, quantitative tightening aspect of their balance sheet. And the fact is that I don't know if everybody forgot, but there is something going on in Israel and Gaza, which could disrupt a lot of things in Europe. So the chances of them doing that right now is pretty low. That's why everybody feels that, this ECB meeting should be pretty boring. But, central bankers are funny people, right?
Yeah, and that's exactly what, because the ECB meeting today is in Athens, actually. I think Stelios must be there.
It is?
And the Greek central banker has already said that it wouldn't be wise to start to change anything to the PFPP, to keep it flexible, whatever, blah, blah, blah. But they could do something else, like with the bank deposits, the reserves, with those kind of things. But that's not the base case, okay? The base case is it should, in theory, be a dull meeting, and then we move over to the US.
How about, and I'm just throwing this out there as a wild card, Kman. How about if Lagarde, now this would be more in the press conference, right? This would not be like, which happens after 15 minutes after we get our GDP and durable goods orders. What happens if she mentions that discussions have started on what to do with the PEP program, even though nothing's happened, no action, but they have started those discussions because no one thinks that that's going to happen just yet.
Well, yeah, no, the market is actually thinking it may happen, because that's what the hawks have been telling us, and that's why probably up to today, let's say the euro crosses were behaving pretty well. So there is a chance that that she mentions it, and then you should see euro crosses move back north. Me thinking.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. So Dale, we have ECB in less than we have about in 7 minutes. We have the ECB, but we also have durable goods orders. We got the advanced GDP numbers. Everybody's expecting them to be really hot today. We got our newest ForexAnalytix team member, Nick. He had a couple of charts he wanted to show us. And even Grega's here today. So we got a full boat, and in about 7 minutes it's going to be crazy town. So
I just wanted to show our community that S&Ps have taken out the 50-week moving average, and here's the 200. This is what I'm looking for before I think we get a decent bounce. Take it away.
All right. I'll take it from here. Let me go ahead and I want to show you guys a little bit about the ECB. Or not about the ECB, a little bit about the euro as we broke a little bit of a channel, ascending channel. You can see that we're kind of breaking down here. Now I'm gonna well, I have to do something here in a second, but you'll notice that we rejected a 50% retracement on the euro. That was the 107 level. It was also what we were looking at as channel resistance. We're kind of below it. What are you thinking as far as downside targets would go for at this point in time, Kman? Because the dollar is firm. I mean, you look at the dollar index, and we're trying to break out, and caught a lot of people off guard early this week.
Yeah, I mean, you look at the yields. We are nearly back to 5% in the 10s. So we're creeping up on the 2s again, 30s, in between brackets, everything comfortably above 5% again. And we are expecting a GDP that is even going to be higher than what the expectations are on Reuters and Bloomberg, because no later than yesterday, Atlanta Fed Nowcast is ramped up the expectations again. I think we started at 2.5, and now we are at 5% or so expectation today. So that makes the disappointment trade even bigger on the one side. But imagine that you get something anywhere, I would say, is 4.7 to 5%. That is a huge difference compared to what's going on in, for instance, Europe and UK. And then those differentials should really continue to play in favor of the dollar.
Yeah, and so you If the dollar now, let's I guess we can kind of talk this through. We have all this data that's coming out here momentarily. We have the GDP numbers. Everybody's looking for this hot number. But boy, I'll tell you, disappointment would be an inline at this point in time. Inline expectations coming in around for the advanced GDP, we're looking at 4.5%. We come in anything closer to 4.1, 4.2.
Yeah.
It's going to be a big disappointment. We're going to see the dollar get shellacked, I think.
Yeah, at least for an hour or so, until the market wakes up and sees that it's still 4% higher than what happens in the Eurozone.
All right, there we go. So what you're saying is maybe the knee-jerk reaction is going to be lower. And real quick before the ECB meets here, I know Grega is here. Grega, what are your thoughts going into the ECB and the euro and maybe the dollar as a whole?
Well, there was a clear three-wave corrective rise from the latest lows, from October lows. So I think that euro dollar will revisit 104, 104.30. That's the potential support. So for now, as you know, I shared also charts in our chat room. Well, since we are in this downtrend from July highs, each day when there was the ECB day, it triggered further continuation to the downside. So in my opinion, we just can be seeing a new catalyst now for new lows, in my opinion.
All right. So I mean, new lows. I know a lot of people. Dale, weren't you talking about? You've been talking about 102 forever, right?
Yeah, about 102, 61.8, 102.30.
Yeah, I mean that's a number that obviously is not too far away at this point. You start looking at 105 and you go well 102. Yeah, it's the 618 retracement, right? This one I'll just show you guys really quick. I mean it's not that far away.
No, could be there by early next week if we have continuation of risk off into that time frame.
Yeah,
can't see the dollar really getting beat up as long as the S&Ps are not recovering. So I'm pulling up your monthly charts, Grega, and of the euro on a monthly basis.
On a monthly basis, I think that last year we have seen a bottom, but we could be approaching towards very interesting levels, I think, in the euro. But for the short term, there's still a downtrend intact. So I think that maybe in December we could see a change in flows. I also still assume that dollar index will potentially stop around to 108 at the same time when we are expecting US yields also to slow down at these levels.
Got it. Okay.
It's been a hell of a wave 5 in yields. Grega, you started talking about wave 5 2 months ago.
Yeah, and it keeps going.
Yeah, so the wave 5 is a little longer than expected, right? And just looking at the 10-year, I mean, yeah, we saw a near-term top early this week, last week, but is that high? Is that it? I mean, I don't know. It looks pretty damn strong.
It could be some kind of a wedge forming here if you connect the latest swing highs and swing lows.
Yeah, I mean, potentially, but it still is in bullish breakout territory. That's the way we have to look at it. This is how when you see yields or breakouts that look like this is the very beginning. If it does develop, and Dale, you've seen plenty of blow off tops, right? I mean, this is how they start, right? Everybody goes, oh, that looks like a reversal pattern. That looks like a reversal pattern. That looks like a reversal pattern. And then next thing you know, yields are up at 8% and the market's falling apart, right? And I mean, I'm not saying that is going to happen, but that's how it starts, is these type of accelerated ramp type moves. But yeah, Greg, I see what you're talking about. Can't ignore it for sure. All right, we got 1 minute from about the ECB. I know Kman will probably be rattling off some headlines as they come across. He monitors Bloomberg, and he'll be in our chat room just rattling things off. But let's watch price action in the euro. I'm just going to keep it on the euro here. I'll put it on I have it on a 15-minute chart, and you know, we'll be standing by, waiting for some price action here.
Rates unchanged.
Okay. And that is nothing exciting happening here.
No,
They leave deposit facility rate at 4%.
I don't need
Refinancing rates unchanged.
flexible reinvesting on the PPP.
Lending facility unchanged. Yeah, I mean, we're gonna have to wait for the press conference, right?
That's it.
That's it. All right, nothing happened. Okay, good. That's fine. I'm more than happy to wait for the presser. To be perfectly frank here, I like the press conference because, you know, I like seeing how tan Christine Lagarde is, and we don't have Brian here today, unfortunately, that has her tan indicator level monitor out, so I'm a little upset about that, but that's okay. We'll get past it. We have a couple big earnings today. We've had big earnings all week, but today we were talking about a moment ago, we have Amazon, right? So Amazon, Dale, you know, was just talking about his 3 drive as we were running into that 618 retracement. We've seen a bit of a reversal. We've got Nick, our newest, you know, ForexAnalytix team member. He is here today. I know he wanted to show you a couple charts. Nick, how are you? Good morning.
What's going on, everybody? Good morning. That was a little lackluster from the ECB. How long until the presser? Is it?
It'll be in 30 minutes and 29 minutes from now.
Okay, great. Yeah, I do have a few things to show. The equities have been a fun one this week, right?
Yeah, they have. Matt, what charts are you looking at today? Because we have, you know, between Amazon, we have earnings from Intel, we have Chipotle, which, you know, I mean, they make the best burritos on the face of the planet. You know, we have we have obviously a lot of earnings that are coming out later today. What's on your radar right now? And I'll let you take the charts for about 5 minutes before we have to get ready for the GDP data that's coming out.
Yeah, I'll be quick here.
There you go.
All right.
Brand, we'll look at cable. Don't worry.
All right. Are you guys able to see my my screen?
We can see it. Yes.
Okay.
Go ahead.
So I posted this chart in the chat room yesterday. Dale, we spoke last Friday on where could we potentially see the S&P go if we break down. Ben, yesterday in our chat room, he's great, always posting a lot of awesome charts. He suggested a inverted cup and handle. That target actually comes down right to here, which coincides with the 50% retracement of the 2023 move. So that's a target that I'm looking at, and I think that we should be paying attention to it. But I did highlight this purple rectangle here. It shows a lot of spikes in this area between 41.20 and 41.60. Overnight last night, I took part of my position off pretty much around here at 41.80 ES, which is pretty much right where we're at. I don't know if it's going to be a straight shot down there, so we're going to have to continue to track earnings. But one other development that I would like to point out for everybody is this chart here in the triple Qs. And it appears that we will be breaking that at the open as of right now. So that's an important development. But at the same time that we're seeing equities break down, we're not even at the 38.2% retracement of this year's moves. So yes, they're rolling over, but I think we should be a little bit hesitant. And I'll show some of that with these FANG stocks or the Mag 7s. Apple, I like this chart here. We have a high and 2 lower highs. I'm going to be watching the support here to see, you know, in the event that, let's say, the S&P does move down closer to 4,100, if Apple's at support, that's something we could be looking at for a bounce. Google, obviously, yesterday, terrible day, worst day since March of 2020. But at the same time that I'm pointing out here, we're not even at the continuation fib yet. So as bearish as I am, and I am short, I'm going to begin to get a little bit more hesitant as we drift lower in the event that we do. We're also going to be opening up with some gaps here today. gaps usually get filled, so we're going to have to be paying attention the first 90 minutes of the open. Amazon, we have them reporting today. I'm watching this trend line here and the 50% retracement in the event that, the earnings last week have not been that bad. Just, I think that the market is taking it as, okay, is this the last good one? Is it time to get out? So I'm looking at this 113 level that also coincides with the 2023 moves. Microsoft, it's in this bull pennant. To be honest, this is not my favorite chart. I'm just watching less of this and more of this, and we'll have to see if it holds. That would be a false breakout. Tesla, that 200 level that we pointed out last Friday, is still holding. You can tell pre-market it's inching back towards it. This is the only one of the few charts out of the Mag 7 that is threatening to break below the 50% retracement. The rest of them are still pretty much 38.2 or 50% retracement on 2023 ranges. So that's just something to stay on top of. And Facebook, Meta, it's still not that far from 2023 highs. 10% is a decent move, but it still looks strong, technically speaking. So we'll just have to keep an eye on that. And as far as the dollar goes, I am short euro. I got short on the spikes from Monday into Tuesday overnight. I was hoping that the ECB would give us a bit more action, but I'm just looking to see if we break back below into this channel. I'd likely press the shorts, but GDP today should be important. So I'm interested to see how that plays out. And that was my quick wrap up.
All right. And one of the other things, Nick, I want to mention is that a lot of these companies that even as they are beating earnings, what happens is you're getting sellers into rallies, and that price action tells a lot, in the markets. When you have, it's kind of like when we have economic data and currencies don't respond well to it. So if you have, strong economic data and people start selling dollars, you're like, oh shit, here goes the dollar. It's the same thing in this earnings season, which has been different than other earnings seasons. You see these big gaps, and it instead of gapping and running that you would see in the stock market on individual names, now you're seeing the gaps getting filled, and that's a scary place to be. I'm going to take the charts back because we have data coming out. Nick, thanks for your views. But
No
what's crazy? And Dale, are you here still? I know sometimes you have to run off. I know sometimes you have to run off and grab a cup of coffee or whatever. But
I'm here to do the interview, Blake.
I know, but I sometimes, like I said, I wanted to bring something to your attention, which I thought, you think about this and it's pretty interesting. If you look at the S&P and you go, okay, if you take to this year's highs, right, which are right here, this would be the head and shoulder pattern, right? That's the head. You think about a 20% decline, which would put us back in a bear market. We have to get all the way down to 3,700 in the S&P to be back in a bear market.
Okay.
I'm
looking for 3,000.
But what I'm trying to say is that's a tall order. Like, a lot of people think, oh, well, we're 20% from the high, so it's in a bear market. No. We already did that. It's 20% from decline from the last high. So there's the most recent high. We have to get down to 3,700 before we enter another bear market, if we're in a bear market, right? So that what I'm trying to say is there's a lot of downside before people start sounding those alarm bells. And by the time we're at 3,700, when people tell you we're in a bear market, we're going to be at long-term. If that happens, we'll be at long-term triangle support down here. Just FYI. So here we are. Below 4,200. Notice how the S&P can't get above 4,200. That's scary to me because this is such a big level. So anyway, we have 6 minutes approximately till we have the biggest data of the week coming out. Let's start with you, Kman, since you're the first up to bat today on the Flow Show, and I know you've been tackling that show by yourself So thank you for being there for the ForexAnalytix, or for actually everybody, because it's a free show for everybody. What's up? What are you looking at going into today's data?
Yeah, so I'm looking for the first thing will be GDP.
Yep.
Because there's been so much expectation built up around. If we're really going to get those readings close to 5%, I would suspect the dollar takes another leg higher. And I would say, especially versus stuff like sterling, because the differentials are still kind of widening. Perhaps the euro now as well, since the ECB on the second reading is slightly dovish compared to what we may have had expected. They talk about pass-through and financial conditions and things like that. And then we look at those commodity currencies, right? We had this rejection on the 62.75.85 in the Aussie. If that goes again, probably looking at low 62s. Kiwi just below 58.20. If
Look
that,
at the Kiwi, can't even get back above.
yeah, that's the thing, you know, 58.15.20 there. If that caps, then we're probably going to go for another visit lower too. And that's it really for the dollar. I think the emerging markets as well. If the yields take another leg up, it's probably going to hurt the emerging markets. Stuff like the rand, the MEX perhaps as well. So those are the things that I'm looking at. If we disappoint though, then well, you go the other way around. Then your equity market is probably going to ramp higher, and the dollar get a slap around its ears.
So I mean, you know, let's talk about that. If we have some weak data, which is entirely possible, guys. I think everybody's betting on the fact that the dollar is going to be strong, and I'll tell you, I'm looking to fade the dollar on a big beat. So just so you all know, and I'll go over those charts here in a second. But if we miss this dollar yen, remember we're struggling up here. I know we are breaking out right now above 150, but yields have been moving higher. Dollar yen hasn't done a lot. I mean, could this be a candidate for some downside finally, Kman?
Oh, if the US numbers disappoint, it's probably going to go back to I don't know, 149 something.
Yeah.
First leg lower.
Yeah. So
we got DOJ next week. I am small in position, but I'm really keeping my dollar yen to the strict minimum. Really strict minimum. I feel other currencies I've got a lot more feeling with right now, to be honest. Until I know from the Bank of Japan. You know.
So Grega, we got just about a minute. What currency are you looking at going into this data? And I'm going to just give you guys my my forecast. Well, forecast how I'm going to want to trade the dollar index on a hot number. So go ahead, Grega.
Yeah, I mean, if we get a rally on the euro dollar, I would definitely be looking for shorts in euro dollar. Probably during the ECB press conference, it would be quite interesting levels if we get a bounce after the GDP numbers.
Okay. And just I want to show you guys what I'm looking at, and this was I posted a little bit earlier in the chat room, but I'm gonna just give it to you anyway. This is a 5-0 harmonic pattern right here. So if we rip up to the 127% extension of this entire move, this is the when we hit that low in the dollar index when everybody was calling for the euro to go back to 125. Remember that? That was only a couple months ago. Dale remembers it. When that was happening, the 127% extension of that move, we would reach it, and that comes in around 107.30. So if this data comes in super duper, uber duper 5% advanced GDP strong, everybody's leaning into that already. Everybody's already bullish the dollar right now. Everybody's going to press it, and then I'm going to see if it'll fade up here. So that would be on a really strong number that would push the euro probably just to 104.50, maybe 104.09, which is the 50% retracement of this entire move. Maybe somewhere down there I'd go for a counter trend reversal, but I'm not taking it in size because trying to sell dollars in size right now, it does not make a lot of sense to me. All right, we have
10 seconds.
10
10
seconds.
seconds. Shoot. Well, here we go. And I'm not going to have all the stuff that I normally have. Maybe I will. Okay. Let me grab the data flash. Oh, wow. Look how fast. All right, here it comes. Scream it out if you got it.
4.9%.
4.7% on good. 4.9 on GDP. Woo!
Durable goods higher.
Wow. Wow. Yields are going to rip. Dollar is strengthening.
Prices not coming down either.
Oh, gosh. Look at the price index. 3.5 versus 2.5% forecast. That's
the market is not moving at all.
Nice
No, it's
wick
not.
on
And everything expected.
Yeah. I guess the market was pretty long dollars into that data, but that is good data. I mean, I'm not going to deny that. I have done absolutely nothing with the dollar right now. But look at the sterling, actually. The pound is actually higher post data, which I find fascinating right now. You know, you can see that the sterling is actually up. We're going to be testing the underside of this broken trend line. That was just kind of imagining things here. We're at the underside of it, so let's see how we react up here. I think this is an interesting one because then we might be not creating a lower low.
Recall what we said on the jobs data. Recall that where we said like it doesn't mean when the numbers are that good, it doesn't really mean that your equity markets are going down a lot. And actually, equity markets are not going down right now.
No, they're not. And you know, that's surprising as well, because you would think that stocks would not like that data. Everything that we just saw just now.
10-year is not going higher on that data either.
What's that? I'm sorry.
10-year.
10-year
not going.
Okay, yeah. Let's see what
change.
So yields didn't they spiked up initially and then they just kind of receded, huh? Yeah, they did. Interesting, guys. Interesting reaction. Like I said, I haven't done anything with the dollar here, but I guess we're gonna have to wait for Christine Lagarde and see how tan she is, because I know for a fact Richard Matthews has a pinup poster of her in his office because I saw it yesterday. So with that being said, I want to say, Nick, thank you for being here. Grega, thank you for joining us and blessing us with your presence today. Kman, we've been appreciating you holding down the fort, especially for the Flow Show and being here and filling us in on everything, especially the yen, because he was reading my mind as soon as I got up. He's like, before you ask, no, there was no intervention. And so we are very fortunate to have you here. And then Dale, thank you so much. And make sure you ask Richard about his pinup poster of Christine Lagarde that he has in his office, because he has one.
Okay, thank you, team.
All right.
Thanks, everyone.
Hi, Dick. How are you?
I'm just giggling at the thought that I got a pin-up poster in my office, the tanned one.
You do. Don't lie. All right, I'm out of here.
How you doing?
I'm doing okay. What do you think? World War III?
Yeah, actually, funny enough, I do. I think that's really interesting, the reaction that we've just seen to those numbers which came out, which, you know, inherently you'd go short of the 10-year, you'd buy the dollar and you'd sell equities, but they haven't really moved, have they, the markets on what is pretty amazing data.
Yeah, so definitely looks like Euro's coming back, and gold looks to be weakening, but the S&Ps are coming back quite a bit. You know, perhaps we're going to get some type of turn here, 1.5. I don't think so.
No.
What's your biggest conviction in the markets right now, Dick? Are you looking for a top in the dollar, continuation move in it, and which currency do you favor?
I actually, having seen that reaction to the data, it makes me more convinced that this is a headline-driven market. So, and let's look at what the headlines are going to be. I can't see many positive headlines coming out of the Middle East. I find it really, really hard to see Hamas in Israel having got to the state that they're in, that either side will back down. And I think that Iran's fingers can be felt there. So I can't see positive messages coming out of there on the headlines. I think there's other trouble spots in the world. I was saying to Blake last night, I think China looks at a potential real nightmare in two ways. One with in the Philippines and confrontation there, but also internally with property, which could well be their Lehman's moment. So, I think it's really, really headline. I can't see positive headlines coming. And so inherently, I want to buy the dollar. I want to sell 10 years because I think yields are going to go higher, despite flows into the dollar into the 10-year. I'd be short of sterling. I'd be short of the euro. Yen, I think there's too much political intervention going on there, so I'd be really, really careful of the yen. I'd just be holding my breath, waiting for the big move.
Okay. So here's a reaction here in the 10-year. We're actually now down 2 bips, and I've been trying to bottom pick this thing. I just started here. This is like TLT. So I mean yields. I mean, try and find a bond bull anymore. Are there any left? I mean, haven't the vigilantes strung them up and skinned them and everything? So I'm just thinking we could make another low, but that maybe with everything you're talking about, Dick, that it's possible that the old days that when there are troubles and with all the short positions that there might be dare I say it, because they're not anymore, flight to quality.
What
do you think? I mean, you and I remember when that used to happen.
I was going to say, the problem is, Dale, what's
no one else
does
these days? Yeah, no one else does. But
no,
remember. Do you remember 87, Dick? And yields were going up and up and up, and the market held together. And the only difference was the dollar was sliding then, not going up. Could there, besides that, are we possibly in an analogy, analog to 87 with the disintermediation we have between yields and mega cap? I know mega caps come in a bit, but
not that much. But being a mere youngster to me, Dale, I actually think there's quite a lot of correlation with 1973 as well.
Okay.
When there was an oil crisis. What I see, my scenario is, a worst case scenario is, Iran gets involved, but they don't start lobbing bombs around. They actually just close the Strait of Hormuz and cause a standoff, which causes a massive squeeze on oil, which in itself is inflationary. Inflation, I think, is still lying there. I think there's unfinished business in inflation. And I think you could reignite that inflationary spiral again, at which case you see bond yields go up some more. And, that's what I see. I can't believe how stock markets, I know they've come back a long way, but how they're still holding in there when really you've got, 6 stocks holding them up? That's a lot of heavy lifting going on there.
Yeah, the Magnificent Seven, but
7,
like I was telling the crowd, there's a lot of the Magnificent Seven that are on Boot Hill. There's Amazon. Here's NVIDIA. I mean, the poster child of AI. It could break down here. It's a head and shoulders stop, and
that's what, a 20% drop from its highs, roughly.
Yeah, it was up to, the high was 500. So 15%. I mean, Apple's been holding up the best, but it's still 15-20% off the highs. So we'll see.
I did read something earlier. I did read something earlier which actually really interested me, that the only way that you'll see bonds really turn and you'll see buyers flood into them is by a major change in risk. So people suddenly people actually want risk. They sell the bond. Get out the bond. Start chasing bonds. And the two ways are going to happen on that. You're going to get some positive news out of the Middle East, out of China, or out of Ukraine, or one of these other hotspots, or you're going to see rates go so high that the Fed has to intervene to push them. And it was Andy Costin who wrote it. And it's a really good point, because actually that might well be the only trigger that is believable, that yields go so high that they really, really hurt, that the Fed actually does have to come in and intervene and start cutting. Because otherwise, I just don't see where the positivity comes in this market. I don't think I've ever been so, I'm an optimist by nature, but I don't think I've ever been so doom and gloom about what's going on in the world.
So the Fed would sacrifice the stock market, which is the opposite of how it used to be, to possibly get some help with the bond market.
Yeah, because
if that's their playbook.
Well, maybe. I mean, I personally, I think the 10-year will go to 6%.
Okay.
And at some point,
I do too.
That's really, really going to hurt those regionals.
Okay. What do you have any thoughts on gold, Dick? That's been, since the invasion by Hamas, massacre, one heck of a move. 20, like $170 in a few weeks, and to me this looks heavy.
It does,
silver looks heavier than gold. It's the gold silver ratio has been in favor of gold over silver.
Let me ask you a question. We're similar generation. Historically, any problem in the world, inflation, war, whatever, the knee-jerk reaction is buy gold, right. And it's always been the way since I was a kid in the markets. Right. I just wonder now, and I talked to Blake about this a couple of weeks back, and he's saying, what would you do? I said, actually, I'd buy Bitcoin. And partly because I'm now working within a crypto business, I think it's really, really interesting that Bitcoin is non-geographical. There's no politics at all attached to it. It's completely clean. So if you buy the dollar, for a lot of people, and I love America, as you well know, my mother was American, so I am half American. But a lot of the world now has turned
against
its feelings against America.
Yeah.
And I just wonder whether actually Bitcoin is not replacing the dollar, but might well be one of the flight to quality that people choose. I mean, it's jumped up. I think there's some other things going on in there with BlackRock, but whether youngsters like it, whether the Saudis like it, the Russians, there's a whole host of people who really don't like the dollar, and with the deficit that you're running. You do question it.
Yeah, so I mean, it's just hard for me to say what's it worth. But you had a breakout. Now we're up against this resistance here from last year. I thought we were going to head down with risk off. I was wrong. I guess it was just the announcement with Grayscale, GBTC, and I don't know how that really moves the needle much, but obviously it did move the needle.
Yeah, so, be interesting. Can you do a Bitcoin gold correlation?
I don't have that up.
No, but it'd be interesting to look at that, just to see since October the 7th, how each of them has moved, and whether it is just actually to do with Grayscale that's really pushed Bitcoin, or whether there is actually some fundamental buying in there because of the political problems.
There goes silver. So silver almost likes the dollar not being too strong, and I think you got to buy it down here if we go down here again, Dick.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Gold, there's still some people thinking we could try 1800 again, but I don't know.
I'm sure there's plenty of old folk out there who still like gold, I think.
Remember when platinum, Dick, you and I, same generation, it used to trade, what, 1500 premium to gold?
Yeah.
Can you,
Yeah.
I mean, look at the
Jeez.
discount to gold. It's like at 50% of what gold is.
That's unreal, isn't it?
I mean, that's got to be a spread and reversion to mean trade eventually, being long platinum, short gold.
Gotta
Just
be.
something to think about. You guys in the UK pay a lot of attention to copper,
Yeah.
right? From, LME guys. What do you
Yeah.
think here of copper?
Looks like it's breaking down, doesn't it?
Yeah. So that's the global economy. Dr.
Yeah.
Copper.
Tanking,
He
I guess.
got sued, Dr. Copper. You know for what?
What?
Impersonating a bull market. It's a big fine, Dick. Turn in your pennies.
Yeah,
Okay,
that's right.
so pound. I know that you've been negative cable for a while. We finally got that top. What you have downside targets? They were like 118 a long time
Yeah.
ago. Have they
Listen,
changed?
I've been negative cable for the last 50 years. I
For the
very
most,
rarely have I said
yeah.
buy. Only really when it got down below, like 108 or something. We have got high inflation, much higher inflation here than in the States. We've got a dysfunctional government that's heading into an election against a pretty hopeless opposition party whose chancellor could vie with the last three chancellors in this country as the most incompetent ever. We've got an incompetent Bank of England governor. Apart from that, it all looks pretty good here. There's an outside chance, and I was talking about to Blake that we have another election for a leader of the Conservative Party in the near future, which would make it leader number 4.
I heard they couldn't even get it together to put together an employment report.
Yeah. It's just like unreal. And then
I mean, how do you run monetary policy without even being able to get an employment report?
Yeah, exactly. Well, they can't run monetary policy or fiscal policy, in my opinion, which I shouldn't
Bring
really
back Danny Blanchflower.
Yeah, we have crossed swords in the past, Danny Blanchflower.
Yeah.
But Danny Blanchflower is the name of a very, very famous footballer in this country, and maybe the other one should stick to football. I saw earlier that UK retail sales or CPI figure on retail sales came at down 21. I just think people are actually really, really hurting him. My family, or parts of my family who aren't involved in finance or in retail and whatever, have mortgages,
yeah.
And they're hurting. But the issue is you've still got rampant inflation here.
Yeah, it's what happens at the store.
Yeah.
Or everywhere.
I know what my outgoings are, and I get my, I know roughly how much I'm going to spend in the supermarket each week or at the butcher's or whatever. And every week I'll get the bill and say, I can't believe I've just spent so much money. And it's whatever they say, inflation is still here. You're getting wage inflation, 100 and I might be getting my numbers wrong. It's either 130 or 103,000 workers in London just been given a 10% pay rise. You've got the public sector very strong. They're getting big pay rises. The private sector's hurting, but those who are making money are going to want pay rises. So you're getting this wage price spiral. I don't know. But then on the other hand, you've got guys who've got mortgages and they never thought interest rates could go above 1%. A lot of them, idiots.
Right.
But, they're bleeding. So it's a really difficult problem. I mean, it's a classic stagflation, isn't it? And probably the same in Europe.
Yeah. So they didn't have 30-year 3% mortgages in the UK. It was all floating.
They're either
variable,
floating or very short fixed, maybe 2-year fixed, which are rolling off now.
So it goes from what? Their mortgage from, if they did it a few years ago, 3-4% to 10?
No, it probably goes actually lower than that, but probably similar sort of quantum, probably from 1 to 5.
Okay, because we're at 7 here.
Yeah. But you don't have you have a lot of long-term fixed mortgages. So if
Yeah.
I had a long-term fixed mortgage, I probably wouldn't move because I'd want to keep my rate low. Is that right in the States?
Right. Yeah. A lot of people locked in 3% money.
Yeah.
So the only way they're losing their home is if they lose their jobs.
Yeah.
Not just because of a squeeze of their mortgage payment doubling.
Yeah.
Like you guys have
here,
going on there.
But here they're likely to, I don't know whether there'll be a lot of forbearance or whether the government will help on housing costs. But, here they are likely to hurt. But I was talking the other day about the first flat that I bought in London in 1976. I bought a one-bedroom flat and it cost me £18,000 and I sold it within a year for £26,000. And it wasn't me being clever, it was just house price inflation, right? So that very flat is probably now £1 million. It's just, ludicrous. So people have got huge mortgages here and it's not, and when you're borrowing at 1%, you can get enormous leverage. And the Bank of England only tested them if interest rates rose to 3%. I think it's 3%, but the level of financial pain that they could suffer was really, really low. And I think this is going to be a big problem going forward over the next year or so.
Okay. All right. Well, any view on the commodity currencies, Dick? I mean, Aussie, the long-term chart on Aussie, it's just been grinding down here.
Yeah. Yeah.
What do you think? Still lower?
Still lower.
Yeah.
I think China obviously hits it, doesn't it, pretty hard. But what about the old loonie?
Yeah, I was looking at that. I'd like to have your view. It's kind of setting up a little 3 drive to a top here. If I, go the 4 hour, go the daily. It's pretty classic, Here's your first drive, your second, kind of a wedge up here. Maybe I think Ellioticians might call this an ending diagonal. So, and see how we're not confirming here on the daily. So maybe something there in the next 48 hours or so.
Yeah.
Do you follow any astronomical stuff, or you're not nutty like me, like eclipses and
only when I'm gardening.
Really? Okay, so you have to know why when you're gardening, because you do it at night and you look up at the sky, or what?
Yeah.
You do it at night?
I actually do follow the moon really closely because I swim every day in the sea. So I follow the moon to follow the tides. But I learned years ago from a very dear friend that he always planted at full moon because the gravitational pull pulls water into the plants.
Okay. Yeah.
There you go.
It's all connected. It's all
the things
connected.
You learn.
I see a lot of turning points on some of this stuff. I mean, it's just another cycle.
Yeah.
So,
psychologically, maybe.
Yeah, that could be too. I mean, you go into a hospital on a Friday night full moon and they're busier. So, yeah. So, okay, Dick, I want people to use your service. And I know you have a currency service. Tell us what else what else you're doing, and how people could reach you.
I'm doing a currency service. I work with a company called One.io. I post on Twitter. I do some videos. I've got a couple out today. I do one with Blake, which is always great fun. The company I work for has also got a that's a bit embarrassing to show photographs of a yellow submarine, which I made from Lego there. We also are actively involved in crypto trading. We've got an over-the-counter crypto desk. So pretty much trading either cryptos or currencies, but always happy to talk to people and always happy to be asked questions, actually.
Look at that, 100,000 pounds. And
so anyway, so there's a picture of 2 little characters here.
Yeah, who are they? Your kids?
Well, no. It's Cockney slang for the yen.
Oh,
Okay, these are
this
two
is
TV characters when I was a kid called Bill and Ben.
okay.
So if you
All
ever
right.
when I was a money broker, the old Bill and Ben is what's the yen? And I was thinking,
All right.
hey, people ain't going to talk about the yen today.
Should we try and top pick this yen yet, Dick? What do you think?
Oh God, I don't know. I
If you have
really
to
don't
pray
know.
about it, probably not, huh?
Yeah, I mean, how many times have we've talked about it and called the top? Yeah, it's just
Yeah.
what the.
All right. Well, this is where you could find Dick, and I don't see the link to your company. This does not open up.
No,
for
that's
me.
that's my personal. I'll put a link up to my company later on.
Okay. All right.
Which is
idea.
one.io.
Best idea going into year end, Dick. It's only a couple months.
My trade I do into the year end. Buy lumber.
Okay, that's interesting. Okay, so
Because you're going to
real
need
estate
it to
recover.
rebuild.
Okay, rebuilding where? Everywhere?
But no, I'm not going to be that negative. I'm going to need it to rebuild Gaza and
Okay.
Israel and
okay.
all that sad stuff.
Will the war expand? Are there going to be airstrikes on Iran?
Oof. Listen, last night I made a complete fool of myself. I did an interview with Blake, and I was bemoaning the fact that that you couldn't elect a speaker. And as I was saying that, you elected a speaker. So I'm not going to make comments that are going to come back and bite me. I wouldn't rule it out.
All right. Well,
you?
I know we're
Would
not
you?
supposed to be political, but this
No.
guy is an election denier and also was involved in pushing that narrative.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
and looks like he'll be overseeing the next election, right, to certify. So,
do you think
Rod Serling couldn't write this script?
No, that's true. But do you think that Biden? I know we shouldn't be political, and excuse me if I just tell me to be quiet if you think that this is wrong to say this. But do you think he will actually stand? He will, get to stand to be president, or he will be replaced by Michelle Obama a month
you're talking
before?
about Biden? Yeah, I've heard that. I've heard that as well. I have no idea. All I know is in this world right now, Dick, what I tell people is to keep an open mind because anything and everything will happen.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's absolutely right. And actually
can't write off any
not at all
thing now. So
and I was very flippant about positions going into the year end, but what I would say is I'd be a real short-term scalper. I'm not sure I'd be having big positions on my book. If I did, they would be very, very defensive.
Okay. Well, I don't think we have to worry about coal in our stockings for Christmas, Dick, because Santa can't find any.
It's going to be so expensive.
We could be naughty and, we don't have to worry about the coal.
Chance would be a fine thing.
I always enjoy batting the ball around with you, buddy. I'm so glad that Blake connected us and we get to talk every 3 months or so.
Yeah, and look forward to doing it again before the year end. All
right, Dick. Well, Dick Matthews, everybody. Follow him at Dickie Matthews 5 on Twitter. And Dick will make time for you if you have some questions and you want to talk to him and maybe do something, maybe like come out of your dollars and buy something else at the right time. You do cash transactions too, right?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, cash transactions. Okay. So if you're moving money, if you're buying something abroad or whatever, contact me. Just drop me a DM on my Twitter account, and I'll actually put up my work account. Actually, I'll type it into the if it's okay, into the chat room.
Can Americans do it with you and then leave it over there and leave it there?
Yeah.
So I actually saw Robert Prechter interviewed. He's been around forever, and he thinks he didn't used to talk like this, but he thinks it's a good idea to have some money offshore and also have a second passport. So
Oof.
you could at least have some money offshore
Yeah.
and be
Yeah, I can't do the
politically
passport.
diversified. Yeah.
I can't do the passport though.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, that's like,
What?
you could come into our country, it'll only cost you $500,000.
Yeah. So
right?
what would your second passport be if you had one?
Grand Caymans.
Good call. Like it. Yeah.
Yeah, that's it.
I can get
A
a
lot of people.
Canadian one.
How about New Zealand? I've
Yeah.
heard New Zealand, they don't take many people either.
No,
And
that's
so,
true.
yeah, I don't know if they want, pirate traders there. Australia, Mandy's saying, come to Australia. So,
Nice place. I like Australia.
all right, is that where we're camping? Huh? All right. All right,
Cool.
listen. Great talking to you, Dick. Good luck in
And
the
you, Dale.
markets, buddy, and talk to you in the winter.
Look forward
All
to it.
right.
Stay safe. Stay safe, everyone.
All right, yeah. Dick
Cheers.
Matthews,
Bye-bye.
everyone. Adios.
Cheers. Bye-bye now.
Don't just count your pips, count your blessings.
Yeah.
And you can catch the team in 14 minutes on the morning edge. See everybody. Adios, Dick.
Cheers.